Good morning, everybody. Welcome to SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS as the circuit has just gone green for 30 minutes of qualifying that will set the grid for the 6th race of the international GTOpen season. You join us on an absolutely glorious morning here in the Ardennes with the clouds beginning to form, but for now at least, blue skies to enjoy this qualifying session. Well, yesterday's race was full of drama and intrigue. It was claimed eventually by Michael Mack and Alessandro Guidi after a bold late race move on Jerome Mull. Mull and Giovanni Venturini runners up in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan, and second in, and then completing the podium rather, was Rick Breukers and Riccardo Agostini in another of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracans. In terms of the Pro-Am class, that was Tom Onslow-Cole and Valentin Pierburg who took the honours with Giulio Borlenghi and Andrei Lewandowski winning the AM class for the Vincenzo Sospiri Lamborghini Huracan squad, as the brace of Teo Marti Motorsport BMW is trying to clear Oliver Wilkinson in the Opta Motorsport Audi. Wilkinson and Bradley Ellis claiming their first Pro-Am podium of the season. For the Teo Marti Motorsport squad, it was a frustrating day with the two cars that we're watching now caught up in an early instant, also actually involved the Optima Audi, which was tipped into a spin in trying to take evasive action. Lorenzo Beirao was rotated and then tagged by Andres Saravia, the result being the damage sufficient to the number 3 BMW to put it out of the race. So therefore Juan Cruz Alvarez, who's qualifying that car, did not get the chance to race yesterday. There indeed is the Argentine, with Fran Raider and Andres Saravia having a long but ultimately productive afternoon after a storming drive, particularly late on from Rueda, making a bold pass on Matt Griffin in the latter stages of the race. That said, the latent pace of the BMW looking very good indeed, as we also saw with the Senkia car in the hands of Joel Eriksson and Richard Gonda. So there are the three classes to watch for: the outright race battle, the Pro-Am class and the AM class, as Juan Cruz Alvarez blasts through Eau Rouge. And then just behind them is the championship leading Lusick Racing Ferrari, Alessandro Guidi, reunited with Michael Mack this weekend, and so far they have been undefeated in the races in which they've competed together, but will be carrying substantial pit handicap time into today's race. Fabrizio Crestani and Miguel Ramos leading the Pro-Am Championship in the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan, and the pair of them have been pretty much ever present on the podium so far this year in the Pro-Am class. A very well matched driver pairing, and a little bit of a snatch break there for Michele Rugolo, the wheel of one of the 3 Lusick Racing Ferraris. That is the Pro-Am entry that he shares with Alexander West, and yesterday West had an entanglement with Marcello Hahn at the Lassour's hairpin that sadly put the Swedish driver out of the race. So they've got 30 minutes to play with, and as we saw yesterday, times being set all the way throughout the session. Oh, and a problem there, and that is Steve Parrow in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Oh, and also having come to a halt, I think taking evasive action, was Fabrizio Crestani. That's just on the exit of Fagna. Good news is there appears to be no damage to the Lamborghini Huracan. Parrow's been on the walls a little bit this weekend. There you have it. Around goes the tail of the Lamborghini, and Fabrizio Crestani performing pretty much the perfect emergency stop to avoid the rotating machine. Got another yellow flag, it would appear, out on the track. We'll try and pick out what that may or may not be. Possibly Parrow recovering to a place of safety. Maybe something broke on the car, which is why it went around on him. The bulk of the field, though, have taken to the track. 26 of them we're expecting out for qualifying this morning. We didn't have any substantial casualties in yesterday's race. A couple of bumps and bashes, but nothing too substantial, as Matt Griffin goes quickest in the session, but not for long. Jerome Mull immediately on the pace in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan. Griffin, who is in the 3rd Lusick Racing Ferraris this weekend, partnering Marco Ciocci. Yesterday they had a very solid run, but were carrying the new entrant pit handicap time. Today they don't have a handicap and could well be a good shout for the podium, if not a little bit more than that. The brace of Teo Marti Motorsport BMWs sandwiching the championship leading Ferrari, and this year we've got the championship fight coming together really nicely with the BMWs, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all very well balanced. We don't have an all-pro entrant in the Mercedes, as Tom Onslow-Cole takes evasive action at the last moment as Konstantin Kalko comes charging through in the ARC Bratislava car and just gives a little bit of a nudge, the SPS Automotive Mercedes. But the Mercedes has been very, very potent in the Pro-Am class. So Kalko, former star of the Radical European Masters Championship, he and Miro Konopka have been regular visitors to the podium in the Am class, as Giuseppe Cipriani gets a little bit of a tag from Jerome Mull. Two Lamborghini Huracans, as Joel Eriksson has gone quickest in the Senkia Motorsport BMW. That car looked very, very quickly yesterday. It seemed to have, though, have lost a fair chunk of time through the pit stops. But Eriksson and Richard Gonda, quite a young driver pairing and really very potent and rapid. And Eriksson, his first flying lap of 2 minutes 16.8, not a bad benchmark. Downhill towards Pouhon. This is the first outing of the season for the Senkia BMW. As Fabrizio Crestani's gone second in the session, Rick Broiker's up to third. And here is Vadim Koge in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. That car was on pole position yesterday in the hands of David Perel. Koge unfortunately retiring late on after a spin at Fagna. Saw the car coming second in a disagreement with the barrier. Pleased to report without too much damage, as Eriksson using absolutely every millimetre of track and curb available to him. And this a good lap from the Swedish driver. Not quite maybe on the par of where he was a lap ago, but it's certainly, given he's a second quicker than everybody else in the session, I don't think he is unduly concerned. Let's see what he can do through this final sector. Talking thousandths of a second here or there. As Eriksson picks his way through the final chicane in pursuit of Damiano Fioravanti. The Ombra Racing Lamborghini Huracan. Across the line comes Eriksson, and indeed goes slightly quicker still at 2 minutes 16.785. But here is Fabrizio Crestani, who's just posted the best first sector of the session. Through Pouhon goes the Italian. It'll be as he heads towards Stavolo that we'll get that second sector time available to us. Out of the core pull threat, Joel Eriksson has lost one of his times for a track limits infringement. Not his best one, as Crestani. It's going to be an improvement, almost certainly, for the Italian. But he's potentially, given that Eriksson's got provisional pole moment by 1.1 seconds, going to pretty much split the difference from where he is. Daniele Diamato has gone third in the RS Racing Ferrari. Oh, and contact there between Crestani, who clatters into the tail of Vadim Koge, under braking into the chicane. And Crestani keeps his foot in and actually manages to improve his lap time, but not unsurprisingly to the loss of a fair chunk of time through the final sector. And there you can see the front of the Lamborghini not looking perhaps as it was intended to come out of the factory. That's always the challenge in qualifying. Here's another look at it. And Crestani, no malice in that. I think he was just completely caught out by how much earlier Koge had braked relative to him. And the rate of closure there you see it. And actually, I think we can be pretty glad that that wasn't maybe more of a substantial and damaging bump for both of them. Right, we're in car with Daniele Diamato, who is certainly one of the most spectacular drivers we've got in the field. the RS Racing Ferrari en route towards Fania now. D'Amato currently 5th, because it's Ericsson from Tom Onslow Cole. And then Fabrizio Crestani is 3rd, Matt Griffin 4th, Daniele D'Amato 5th, Rick Broikers 6th, and Fabrizio Crestani, yeah, he's 3rd, Alan Kader 7th, Jerome Merle 8th, Damiano Fioravanti 9th, Juan Cruz Alvarez completes the top 10. Constant Calco has just lost his best time as he is about to be overhauled by one of the Racing Ferraris. But here is Onslow Cole, yesterday's Pro-Am class winner. He and Valentin Pierberg reuniting for a second campaign in the International GTOpen, and it's been going really well for them so far, as Pierberg yesterday did a very, very good job of just making sure that car was in contention, and then Onslow Cole, who was one of the few pro drivers in the Pro-Am class who was out in the second half of the race, was just able to move that car on up through the field. So the SPS Automotive Mercedes burbles its way through Blanchimont. So unlike this lap's going to be much of an improvement for Onslow Cole, but the British driver in the 2 qualifying outings he's had so far this year, he's always just been a little bit unlucky with traffic around him, and the pace has appeared to be there for an outright pole position. It's just been a case of getting the track space, but maybe today it's going to be the occasion where that changes. So it's Ericsson from Onslow Cole, Rick Broikers, Daniele D'Amato 4th, Crestani 5th, from Matt Griffin, Alan Cadet, Jerome Mull, Damiano Fioravanti, and then Juan Cruz Alvarez. Now Fran Rueda is on a good lap as Vadim Koge enters Rouge, the tail of that Rinaldi Ferrari, looking a little bit skittish, but obviously there'll be some damage to the rear diffuser of that car after the tag with Fabrizio Crestani. So Ollie Wilkinson picks his way past him. Wilkinson, really impressive and mature performance yesterday, given that he was, as Koge goes straight on at Les Combes, given his relative inexperience at the wheel of a GT3 car, but he was able to keep a level head in the midst of some pretty frantic dicing late on. So here's Fran Rueda, already 1 victory to his credit this season. The Spaniard teamed with Andres Saravia, and they may yet launch a title challenge, because this is a circuit that suits the BMW, as are several of the others to come over the course of the remainder of the campaign. And Rueda, if nothing else, this lap it's going to be an improvement. Whether or not it's quite going to be enough for pole position, we shall see. The top 6 all covered by a second, as Alessandro Pierguidi's just gone 3rd. Daniele D'Amato, an improved time for 4th. There is Wolfgang Riep in the Aston Martin Brussels car, and Riep coming through to complete lap and goes 9th as a result of that effort. Fran Rueda on the road behind him. What can the Spaniard offer? It's pole, a 2 minutes 16.321 for Fran Rueda, and that puts him almost 4 tenths clear of the rest of the field. So really impressive lap from Rueda, and lays the marker down to the rest of the field as we catch the tail end of a fairly substantial moment for Joel Eriksson, and that's why he's got a puncture on the rear right of the car, rather, and can think of places you'd want the tyre to deflate, and at full speed at Blanchimont is certainly not one of them. Now is Rueda on for another quick one? Yes, he is. Fastest of anybody through sector 1. The other thing that's been very impressive with Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia this year in the 10 Martin Motorsport BMW is that they're both really quite smooth drivers for most of the time, and therefore quick laps from them are deceptively quick. The car isn't necessarily sliding all over the place, it's just really well hooked up using the traction available. Daniele D'Amato, meanwhile, has lost his best time for track limits, so he gets shuffled down 7th. Juan Cruz Alvarez in the sister Teo Martin Motorsport BMW is also on a very good lap. He has just posted the best middle sector of the session. and is in the middle of sector 3. So this could be a good morning for the Teo Martin Motorsport team. They have become something of masters in terms of using their tyre allocation through the weekend to get the best possible results from both races. As Juan Cruz Alvarez has come past us, he's gone third, a 2 minutes 16.9. So it's BMWs 1, 2 and 3 at the moment. Mercedes 4th, Ferrari 5th, Mercedes 6th, Lamborghini 7th. Rueda dives down into the camber of Blanchimont, then accelerating through the sunshine on towards the final chicane. Accelerating on his way, possibly lost a tenth or two through the chicane, was just a little bit late on the turn, indeed he was, and so therefore 200ths of a second off his best time, but Rueda remains the quickest driver in the session. But for how long? Because Alessandro Pierguidi, as you can see from the time ticker at the bottom of your screen, has just posted the fastest first sector of the session. So the Luzic Racing Ferrari, here it is, Pierguidi, the reigning LM GTE World Champion. Now he's going to be catching a brace of Lamborghini Huracans. The first of those is Konstantin's Calco. And certainly the livery of the ALC Bratislava car is nothing if not distinctive. At the moment, Pierguidi, I don't think he's going to be too delayed by maybe the turbulent air from the car in front. Pierguidi, a good middle sector. Fran Rueda has just gone quicker than anybody else through the first sector once more. Joel Eriksson has re-emerged from the pits as Calco backs out of his lap, and that releases Pierguidi to challenge. Great session, this one. Lots of very quick drivers, one would suspect, haven't yet shown their hand, as Pierguidi coming in to the bus stop chicane. Absolutely nails the apex, carries the momentum out of the corner, and then will take as short a distance as possible to the line. She does now. He goes second at 2 minutes 16.682. So still 0.3 adrift of pole position. Downhill out of La Source. He's going to be catching one of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracans before too long. The middle sector of the lap, meanwhile, that Fran Rueda was on, has just fractionally gone away from him. It is Jerome Mull, who is directly ahead of Pierguidi. The pair of them, who of course yesterday were fighting for race victory. It's Pierguidi, fastest first sector of anybody once more. The question is whether or not he's just going to be delayed or distracted by the car in front of him. And this is always the challenge in qualifying. If the car in front of you is on a quick lap and you're within probably a second or so of them in terms of that pace overlap, you are going to be fractionally delayed. Meanwhile, Michele Rugelo's just gone into 7th place, third of the Pro-Am runners in another of the Luzic Racing Ferraris. Pro-Am pole currently held by Tom Onslow-Cole, who remains in the pits. Alam Kader second in class in the Drivex Mercedes, and then Rugolo third in the Pro-Am class. Am pole at the moment is in the hands of Renat Salikov, who was dominant in the AM class yesterday until forced into retirement mid-race, and he leads the AM class standings from Thiago Marquez and Konstantin Skalko. So that is the current state of play as we hit the 2/3 point of the session. And this is unlikely to going to be much of an improvement for Alessandro Pierguidi on this lap. 0.3 down through the middle sector. Fabrizio Crestani, meanwhile, has improved into 7th, and it's Crestani who is now the top Lamborghini. For Jerome Mull, having the Ferrari behind him has been something of a hurry-up as into the pit lane peels Alessandro Pierguidi. Mull does post his best lap of the session to go 12th. Alam Kader, meanwhile, is just trying to wind up the pace. This has not been a flying lap for Kader, but he will be hoping to now push in the Drivex Mercedes. He and Marcello Hahn, always a very potent pairing. And Kader looking to claim that Pro-Am pole position. The top 7 cars separated by just 0.8 of a second. As Kader plunges downhill out of Lassour's hairpin. He's got Steve Parrot trying to pursue him in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Foot planted uphill for Kader. Joel Eriksson, meanwhile, is on a good lap in the Senkia Motorsport BMW. 0.3 up through the middle sector. He needs to find about 0.4 to overhaul Fran Rueda. See whether or not he can do that momentarily. As we stay with Alain Kader, who has posted a personal best through the first sector. Here then is Joel Eriksson accelerating through across the line and to pole position. A 2 minute 16.232 for Eriksson. 0.09 of a second faster than Fran Rueda. So the Swedish driver back into pole. He may get another tilt at this because his first sector on that pole position lap was not his best of the session. So there's more to come. See whether he can find what that more is. Matt Griffin on a good lap as well in Luzit Racing Ferrari. Alain Kader also on a good lap too. Tomas Local and Juan Cruz Alvarez just re-emerging from the pits, so they are going to be looking to press on, as indeed is Joel Eriksson. Personal best through the first sector. Alain Kader consolidated 7th with the lap that we started with him. Matt Griffin has gone 8th with, or rather it's Matt Griffin who's gone 8th with an improved time. Alain Kader is still circulating, my apologies. But he's on the cusp of a pretty chunky improvement. As Eriksson winds down through Pool on no traffic. Here is Alain Kader, then across the line. And that is 3rd position for the Brazilian with a 2 minute 16.421, 0.2 drift to pole, and pole position in the Pro-Am class. So a very impressive lap from Kader. And it means it's now getting very, very tight at the top of the times with the BMW, Mercedes and Ferraris all very much in the mix. Fabrizio Cristani remains the top Lamborghini. And he has just re-emerged for another run. Or rather, Rick Breukers now goes in as the top Lamborghini to 7th position with a 2 minute 17.0. And Kader a little bit adrift through the first sector on this lap. Joel Eriksson having an improvement for pole position. So Eriksson's just come past their commentary box at 2 minutes 16.073. So he's now a 1/4 of a second up, almost exactly over the rest of the field. Fran Rueda 2nd, Alain Kader, who we watched, in 3rd. Alessandro Pierguidi 4th, Juan Cruz Alvarez 5th, Daniele Diamato 6th, having just posted an improved time. 7th, Twans Local, who's on an outlap. Rick Breukers in 8th, Michele Rugolo in 9th. Matt Griffin completes the top 10. We're in car with Daniele Diamato, who absolutely monsters the curbs through Les Combes. And the RS Racing Ferrari moves downhill into the Bruxelles hairpin. That is, thus far, a lap that is Diamato's best. We'll see whether or not it sustains as such. Joel Eriksson has lost his best lap of the session due to track limits. And team manager, actually, for Eriksson's been summoned to race control because I think that's the 2nd lap that Eriksson's lost for track limits in this session. So that means that Eriksson, with the deleted time, is now just 0.09 of a second up on the rest of the field in that fight for pole position. And lots of very quick drivers out circulating and looking for an improvement. Just a handful of cars in the pits at this stage of proceedings. In the AM class, it is now Thiago Marquez who has moved into pole in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. 16th overall for Marquez. That's a good performance. So So a couple of likely improvements towards the end of this lap. Fran Raider has just completed an outlap, so he is going to have another tilt at it. 4 1/4 minutes remain. As D'Amato across the line goes 5th with a 2 minute 16.6. As Joel Eriksson has possibly done all that he can do. Now here is Rick Breukers, and Breukers leading the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini charge is currently 8th overall. But what we saw yesterday was the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Hurricanes were very, very stealthy as the race unfolded. Really strong, consistent pace from two of their driver lineups. We've also got Alain Kader's team manager summoned to race control with immediate effect, as Fran Raider has just set the fastest first sector of anybody in the session. So Raider in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW on the prowl, but he's going to have a little bit of traffic to contend with. That's Steve Parrow, who is right in front, who he is going to probably catch through Pouon, because Parrow's best is 11 seconds adrift of the current pole position mark, and that's exactly what happens. Parrow, though, sees him coming, moves aside, and allows Rueda to power past him. Whether or not that's cost Rueda anything, we'll see. Spaniard, though, he only needs to find 9/100ths of a second. He found a good chunk of that, has to be said, through the first sector on the lap. The second sector is also looking good for the Spaniard. We've got a yellow flag, though, over at La Source. We will find out what that is. It's not going to affect Rueda's lap, but it may affect some of the others if that yellow flag remains there. Rueda comes out of Blanchimont on the brakes into the chicane. This is where he lost a little bit of time on his previous run, loses absolutely nothing on that occasion, clips the apex pretty much perfectly. Straight blast to the line. The cross he goes for pole position at 2 minutes 15.811. Pole position provisionally to Fran Rueda by 0.4 of a second. Now we just got a glimpse at La Source there of possibly a static car just off the racing line. As meanwhile, Jerome Mull pushing a little bit too hard into Fagna, so he loses the chance to improve. Now Onslow Cole is on a good one. Tom Onslow Cole has just gone quicker than anybody through the middle sector on the lap, but he was half a second slower than the BMW through the first sector, so he's a little bit off still. Here we go, into the chicane, rides the curbs, gets the power down the SPS Automotive Mercedes as quickly as he possibly can. And that's third place to Onslow Cole, 2 minutes 16.389, and Pro-Am pole position over Alain Kader by 32 thousandths of a second. So I think he'll take that yellow flag, now retreated over at La Source. So opportunities for improvement once more into the final minute of the session. So final laps respectively for everybody. So Daniele D'Amato in 7th place. He is looking to improve. Meanwhile, Giulio Borlenghi goes up to 20th as he comes across the line. Damiano Fioravanti up to 13th. So Onslow Cole, another potential improvement. Here is Daniele D'Amato, a little bit further around the lap than Onslow Cole. But once more, will greet the checker flag at the end of this lap. So the RS Racing Ferrari through the core Paul Frere. It's hard to see whether or not he has backed out of it. Yes, he has. Some 2.5 seconds back on the lap from D'Amato, and he's going to run out of time to improve. So 7th is the best that the Italian will start from. The checker flag goes out now. D'Amato, I'd anticipate, is probably going to be peeling into the pits at the end of this lap. It's never going to be making up 2.6 seconds. Last few cars across the line to take the flag. And D'Amato, well, he doesn't peel into the pits because at the end of the session they'll be waved back that way anyway. So Fran Rueda looking very, very likely to have claimed pole position for the 6th race of the season, and by a fairly chunky margin, 0.4 of a second over Joel Eriksson. Oliver Wilkinson still circulating. Wilkinson actually doing his personal best first sector as Onslow Cole comes to the end of the lap. Is it going to be any sort of an improvement for the British driver? Across the line he comes, and it is not an improvement. Now you saw there a stricken Teo Martin Motorsport BMW, and for my money I think that's Thiago Marquez who hit trouble late on, because Juan Cruz Alvarez, Fran Rueda have both taken the checkered flags. The last few cars coming across the line. Our coverage this afternoon starting just after 2 o'clock local time here. The green flag around about 20 past 2, so do make sure you join us as Fran Rueda celebrates pole position for the Teo Martin Motorsport team. He and Andres Saravia looking for their 2nd victory of the season, and Rueda pulling out the lap exactly when he needed to, receiving the congratulations of the team as a result. Got last couple of cars due across the line. Oliver Wilkinson, I think, is going to be the last driver across the line. Rueda settles himself into the garage. Congratulations keep pouring in. And Wilkinson across line to an improved time, but not position. So that's everybody home with pole position to Fran Rueda. It's going to be an all BMW front row with Joel Eriksson alongside him, and all Mercedes row 2, Tom Onslow Cole and Alain Cadet. And they are the leading runners in the Pro-Am class as well. Thiago Marquez setting the Am class pole position, but then hitting trouble at La Source late on in the session. So here is how they have qualified. Fran Rueda, the only driver to get beneath the 2-minute 16-second bracket, taking pole position with Joel Eriksson alongside him on the front row of the grid. Tom Onslow Cole, Pro-Am pole, and 3rd overall with Alain Cadet in the Drivex Mercedes, 2nd row with him. Alessandro Pierguidi in the championship leading Luzic Racing Ferrari will start 5th, with Juan Cruz Alvarez in 6th. Daniele D'Amato in the RS Racing Ferrari from 7th, and Rick Broikers, the top Lamborghini for Imperiale Racing in 8th. Michele Rugolo and Matt Griffin and all Luzic Racing 5th row. Fabrizio Crestani, 4th in the Pro-Am class, in 11th place alongside Jerome Mull, then Damiano Fioravanti and Wolfgang Reep on row 7th. Eduardo Liberati ahead of Stefano Constantini. Thiago Marquez taking Am class pole from Konstantin Skalko, and Rinat Salikov with Giulio Borlenghi completing the top 20. Oliver Wilkinson in 21st, ahead of Giotong Liang and Giuseppe Cipriani. Luis Silva, Vadim Koge and Steve Parrow completing the 26-car field. Do make sure that you join us for the race this afternoon. Until then, it's goodbye from Spa.